Okay, so we're back. Let's see how we do this time. So let's try logging this, Sam. Where do I get these days my console output log? There we go. And I would need to clear the log. What's that?
I would need to see your screen.
You would need to see my screen. I did stop that. There you go. All right, let's have a look.
The log should happen on the screen.
What's that?
It should log in the top left corner.
There you go. Timeline update. So once that timeline first gets called, it looks like, is it still being called? Now if I shoot again and hit the skybox during that timeline update, do you think that's what's happening? So that, then shoot again. Yeah, there you go. So the conditions are, by the looks of it, that timeline update starts, it runs for a certain amount of time. If in that time we hit a victim that's null, then we get the problem.
Yeah.
So that's what's going on.
Yeah, that's a bit dodgy.
Yeah, so what's your best suggestion about fixifying that then?
Well, it looks like basically it's only running one timeline, as I was saying.
Yeah.
So if you go through with the second event, what will happen to the thing you were trying to delete? It will stop it being deleted, right? I bet we've got objects hanging around half deleted.
We may do. Let's test that.
Or not half deleted, but scaled down, but not completely.
Yeah, that's quite possible.
You can make this easier by making the timeline time much wider, so you've got longer to shoot elsewhere.
Yeah. So
if you double click on the timeline node.
Okay, so but are we addressing the root cause if we just change the length of the timeline? We're using the timeline to do the nice scaling.
We're using that to debug. I'm not trying to address the root cause. I'm trying to confirm.
So what do you want to do? Change the period of the time?
Still getting silence coming and going.
What's that?
Still getting silence every now and again.
Yeah, it's probably the... Oh, it's gone. The Daleks are alive, by the way. They are on GitHub. Let me give you the link again. And let's go and get it and just check it. That'd be cool. And then everybody can end up on the same page, and you can get it as well. So that will be cool.
Yeah, their downlink's a lot better than their uplink, that's for sure.
Yeah. There you go, guys. So this is the link you need to the repo, like so. Sam's going to be pulling that. He will take over driving Unreal because my dexterity with it has got a little bit out of whack. I won't make any changes. We think we know what the problem is, that the timeline fires off continuous update events, and during one of those, if you hit something that's null, then you get this null reference exception. That's what we want to try and resolve. And Sam will take over in a minute. You won't be long downloading that project. If anybody else wants it, there's the link to the repo. We do need to solve these audio issues, though.
Yeah, do you want to work on that for a sec? I can share my screen so they can see at least a loading bar.
Yep, I will work on the audio if you work on the rest of it. I think last time we had this audio thing, I solved it just by using two separate mics, like so. So I was sending to you by this mic, and then everybody else via my lapel mic. Okay,
because they were saying that it was happening for both of us.
Bindy's having almost continuous audio. Seem fine on the playback. Yeah, I can always check my local recordings. They're inevitably fine. Yeah, don't know. It's interesting. How could Bindy get almost continuous audio? That's really strange.
Folks are having problems streaming it from Twitch.
Yeah, it's possible it's outside here because the nice thing about the way I'm set up is that it's just I push a button. It's an appliance, right? I don't change any settings. And also there's nothing else on the network. There's only one computer on this network. So it's unlikely to be me. I've got a lot of configuration on the Mac, but anyway, hopefully we're good. I'm going to go, Sam, as soon as you've got that open, I'm going to go get my laptop so I can monitor this a bit better. Abandon the idea of using...
I don't have that open yet.
What's that?
There's nothing open just yet. It's still down there.
Yeah, I'm going to wait for you. You're all getting almost continuous, hence the drops every so often. Okay. There is an option on Twitch and our settings for us to go with slightly longer latency, which basically means that they have a bigger buffer. I think I'm going to switch back to that. you know, you guys have said, oh, we want the low latency. But to be honest, the way that we work, if you're another 5 seconds behind or something, I don't think it matters. I'd rather have that and you have a stable stream. So I've never seen any problems in the recordings. I think it's just the live stream buffer is getting overrun for whatever reason.
We don't have the latency. Got the bandwidth, but not the latency.
Yeah, exactly. So we're trading those two puppies off against each other. Checklist that says download, get repo sorted an hour before, which is cool. I've had this a few times today, though, in unstable internet connections. Blame it on solar flares. Hey, they've just discovered, it's just hit the news, that they've discovered, I think with very high certainty now, a lake of water under one of the poles on Mars.
That's pretty cool.
Today, like not like yesterday or a million years ago, like some of this news, but today. So you haven't had an issue since the upload's finished. That's cool. Yeah, one of the comments about this box that I have is that it seems to, some way that it labels the traffic seems to prioritize video over audio for whatever reason. Probably because it's designed for broadcasters, and you know the real purpose of it is to get the video off cameras back to base. They're not normally sending mission critical audio, so they may be labeling these packets differently for audio and video.
There you go. That's our bug right there.
Yep.
So you can see I'm flying past an undeleted
Object.
item. Yeah.
Yep.
So this timeline method is no good, basically. So I think for now, we're going to work around this by going to the flying pawn. And instead of, is the resolution good, by the way, on the stream, folks? Just let us know.
Yeah, it's not bad. You need to be at least that zoomed into the timeline, if not a little bit more, to be visible.
Yeah, okay.
I also think I'm going to take Mike's advice and get the Twitch chat off the screen in a minute when I come back, because I don't think that it's particularly useful to have it over the top. It's because of ideas about maybe sending these videos to YouTube, but you can't serve both masters. You end up serving none. So I think I will get the chat off the screen in a moment. So I'll be back in a sec. Sam will talk you through his thinking. I'll see you in a second.
Yeah, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and delete the flying pawn directly. We've shown you how to use the timelines, but there is a limitation of those timelines, which is there is only one timeline across the whole blueprint. It's not multiple timelines. There's just one, which does mean that bit of code we had, let me go back to the event graph. This little bit of code we had where it's taking this victim reference over into the thing that we're trying to scale. What this means is that victim can change when we've raycast to something new. So that's no good. It's basically storing it into a variable on the class that's not been named and then calling back multiple times. And that is global across the whole class. So that's not really how we want it to behave. It's great and a nice feature if you've only got one timeline running at a time. But the way we're trying to use it, it's no good. So I've deleted the event graph, and we're just going to do the raycast. And after the raycast, I think I've actually removed the return node here. I kind of wanted to keep the return node, actually. Not thinking things through properly. So let's pull the return node again, add return node, or I could just change it so that the function destroys the cube. Maybe I'll do that. So, oh, why did that come back? Let's delete that, rename the raycast. We're going to change that to fire laser. And then in fire laser, it won't return anything. So let's select fire laser, look at our details pane, and it does look like it shouldn't return anything, actually. If I look at the event graph, maybe that's just not updated. Go ahead and compile the blueprint, save the blueprint. Nope, that should. I'm not entirely sure why that's not showing me, why that's showing me an error here with the firing the laser. Yeah, at the moment we're getting this funny looking error that it's saying the victim parameter doesn't exist. Well, it expects it to be an output parameter, and I can't quite see why. Yeah, because I was trying to turn it into just a method that actually deletes the object that we hit like we had before. So it would be that you get the hit actor, you would destroy the actor, like so. But for some reason, it wants this pin. I'm just going to remove this function call from here and try adding it back in case there's something about that function call. There you go. Something about that function call thought it wanted that pin, even though it wasn't present anymore in the definition of the function. These are some of the downsides of the visual scripting language, really, is that it seems to have a representation underlying it that you can't actually see. And that's always a bit annoying with hidden representations like a Word document, really. Okay. Yep. So, yep. Definitely. They think you're muted because they can't hear you. Ben's muted.
Of you coming through a different mic. So guys, tell me if this changes the sound now. Tell me if my sound's still okay. I'd much rather be this way because if Sam loses audio, you lose audio and vice versa. There's not like two paths.
So we're still getting an error now, but at least I think this is different now. If we go to the fire laser function, I think what's happening now is that this actor comes back null and we're trying to destroy it. So I can just do I don't remember whether I called it null check or valid. That's it. So it is valid.
Are you able to add, say you search for null and nothing comes up. Is there any way you can add your own note to this blueprint?
I don't think so.
You can't. That's a shame.
Not without editing the editor. Kind of defeats the point a little.
Which I guess you're at liberty to do, but you won't be to. Then you're forking it. Oh, it's no. Ugh.
Yes, you would be forking it. Meaning making a change that...
Not forking as how an Italian would say. And then you fork at the editor.
Exactly.
Not that type of forking, no.
No.
Version control forking, not right.
There we go. So now this is working. It's firing forwards. And what we wanted to do is draw some kind of visualization of the laser, right?
Yeah, that's a priority right now.
Yep. So, shall I go ahead and commit as we're going?
I was playing with an Unreal and I went into the code and then I forked at the editor. And then now it no longer works.
It's no good.
Yeah. So it should be you doing the pretend Italian accent, given that you, are Italian. Are you like 100% Italian?
No, I'm 50% Italian. I got it from my daddy.
He got it from his dad.
Yes. Right, so let's commit this.
Unfortunately, my son got most of his bad habits from his daddy as well. No, I don't have any bad habits. But
no
hypothetically,
no bad habits whatsoever. Hypothetically, yes.
Yeah. Hypothetically. So guys, what I was saying when you couldn't, you just need to get better at lip reading. When you couldn't see what I was saying because my mic wasn't on, is that if you listen carefully to the way that Sam is talking about diagnosing blueprint issues, he's doing it based on a much deeper understanding of things like references, classes, function calls, and so on. So what's encouraging is that if we're going to teach you to do blueprint-only Unreal programming, which you absolutely can do and should do, we're also going to teach you the fundamentals of computer science properly as we go. It's just going to be different terminology because you need those mental constructs to solve the problems properly. Otherwise, you're just just kind of fumbling around in the dark. This is where we find out whether Sam's lack of space after the M matters or not here. It probably doesn't.
Lack of space after the M? No, it doesn't.
No, it seems not to matter.
Do I not have access? Oh, but I don't have access. Give me access and I'll push it next time. Right, so...
Yeah, we can do the pushes at the end of the stream.
What I wanted to do next was visualize the laser. So what we probably want is to... I'll see whether I want to split this out in a second. I'm just looking at it from a high level, really, to see whether there's a a pattern here to split out. And let's make a bit more space here because you don't.
And let's encapsulate often and encapsulate early so that A, for the visual density on the stream, and B, for our sanity.
Yeah. Yep.
Presumably you can de-encapsulate, if that's a word. You can expand back out. So if you wrap this up into a function, all this stuff, presumably you can split that back as to how it was or not.
You can undo. I think.
Yeah, but I mean, can you do that later though? So if you've grouped a node of nodes together, can you then say, let's put those back to how they were?
No.
You can't.
Just like in code, right?
Well,
you'd have to manually move it back. There's no kind of...
Yeah, there's no tool for that. Yeah.
I like an expand. As in, you just want to expand this.
No, I don't mean expand.
Expand
Obviously, you can drill into expand. Yeah, you can expand, but it's just a question of if I've taken a bunch of nodes and, say, extracted them into this fire laser, could I then, obviously using the undo buffer, but could I then go from fire laser, expand this out back into the level it was in? So you've got, node A, fire laser, node B. Can I go node A, all the details of fire laser, node B, back up at that top level?
If I want to take that bit and just move that bit out?
Yeah, back up to the previous level.
No, I don't think there's any automatic tools for that.
Okay, you can't maybe from the level above say like
I love this. Only in a visual editor can you highlight nodes of your programming language, right click, and then choose how to align your programming language. Do I want them all aligned to the top? Do I want them distributed evenly? Distribute horizontally.
Whatever you do, it's going to look bad though.
Yes, exactly. I find that really quite hilarious. That's definitely a downside of the visual editor, in my opinion, is that it's just, this doesn't add much information, the layout of the nodes.
And also the quantization of the amount of, it's not sufficiently quantized. Can you change the grid spacing on here or anything? Because in code, we argue about whether we leave 1 or 2 lines of space between things, and that's a very easy argument to resolve because there's only 1 or 2. But here you've got like hundreds of pixels.
I wish the layout was automatic, to be honest. I mean, that would make a lot of sense if you just.
Yeah, quite a hard problem, I think, though. Relatively.
Yeah, but if it were like consistent.
Yeah,
I don't know. People like Scratch do visual layouts where you can't really move the nodes around too much because it doesn't.
Oh yeah, they have that like a jigsaw system.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's much more advanced, in my opinion, a jigsaw system. But I also quite like the way you can route data and execution flow independently in Blueprint. That's quite clever.
Yeah, it's good, the jigsaw, but it's going to be as hard as like designing drugs and matching proteins and stuff, because in Scratch you've only got like 1 or 2 data types, but here you're trying to fit like all those colored pins into another object. It's going to be quite weird and interesting to try and make it work. So
yes, true.
Progress will be made one day. I'm going down in the world.
We want to visualize the laser. We've got some data about this. We've got the start and end of our line trace by channel. And let's see. So we can probably draw a debug line. I think that's going to be the easiest way.
Is that something you want to leave in a production?
No, it's definitely a development-only feature.
Will it even compile into the build when we build?
I don't know.
Because if it won't, would we want to do that just for purposes of working out how to draw it, or would there be a risk that the debug lines API is so different to the line we're going to actually end up building? What did you use in the Painter in the Unreal VR course?
Splines.
Use splines. Is it worth using splines here?
It might be a little advanced.
Okay.
We could try it, but splines are a bit tricky.
We could get a crude debug.
We need a spline. Well, we might need a spline. A spline would be all right. Problem is you'd have to switch it on and off. It's a little bit harder to work with, but we could create an API that looks like our draw debug line.
Yeah.
So at the moment, that's not really drawing a debug line. Maybe it's the line color. Let's have a nice red laser for a start. The duration also matters. So maybe let's make the duration 0.5 seconds. And the thickness about, how many centimeters? About 5
centimeters. Is it
centimeters
or pixels?
Always centimeters.
Is it?
Yep.
Even with these like overlay items.
There you go. Pew, pew.
That does not look like 5 centimeters. If those blocks are big.
What do you mean? How big do you think the blocks are?
Well, I don't know really. How big are the blocks? Are they a meter by a meter?
No, I think not.
Well, if they're a meter, that would be about right, actually. But,
So
that's
it
10.
depends.
It looks like...
It depends how big this block is itself. So let's go and find out.
Yeah, how
You
do
can
we
actually
get a
hover
quick...
over this and see what its approximate size is. So that says that block is by default a meter by a meter. So the scale here seems like it's 10 meters.
But it does say a meter by a meter by a meter, which is not a meter high. What's going on there? We've got some... Oh, we've got an override on the... We've got another override on the scale
here is
over
10,
here.
10, and 5. So this is 10 meters wide and 5 meters high.
Yeah, therefore that's not 5 centimeters because that's bigger than that. It's more like a 20th of the block rather than a 200th of the block, isn't it? Or maybe not by the time it gets
Yeah, so I don't know what's going on there in terms of the thickness.
Doesn't matter. It works.
It does work.
It works. It's all right. I always like to know what the units are. I think it's good habit to get into like what are these units. That's too small, isn't it? That looks like
Definitely, that's 1 centimeter. So, or whatever it is.
one of these magic units. Yeah. Oh,
It could be
5
that
cents
it's
to
the
do it.
radius, so it could be 10 centimeters. But
Yeah.
yeah,
It could be one. It could easily be 1/100th of the block width, actually, especially where it lands, because what you don't want to do is compare the width of it where it leaves the ship to, whatever. So that's cool. So so what's interesting here, I'm saying you're going to end up using debug lines, and we're saying no, but it's a really quick and easy way to find out whether this is the type of thing where it's going to live in the code. And then if we want to do it using something that's actually going to survive into the build, then we can, as Sam says, create an API that is similar to that for splines or whatever other system we use. Particles, splines.
Or I'm thinking that an even nicer approach here would be to use a projectile, just a very fast projectile.
Maybe being able to see that would then depend, it'd either have to be very long and thin, or being able to see it is going to depend on the persistence of vision, which is going to depend on frame rate.
I think I'd make it long and thin. It's quite an easy one to do that way.
Might look weird, but I guess you could.
No, it doesn't look weird at all. I've done it before.
It will look like a laser pulse if it's done right, yeah. But although, of course, in reality, you can never see a laser pulse like that, not in these sort of scales. But
yeah, so shall we do it that approach, or is there something more fun that we can work on? Missiles. Can just do missiles.
Should we make a homing missile?
What's it going to home into?
Whatever you raycast to a point and then hit a button to... So basically, whatever it hits. So you hit fire, that sets that point of collision as the target point, and then whatever you do, the missile then goes and homes to it.
But if it doesn't move, it'll do that anyway.
It's just going to be a slow projectile unless there's a delay between you firing and then your ship moves. And it would be contrived to get it set up, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
It'd be nice to do a homing missile. Really, homing missiles are only any use when the thing you're shooting is moving.
Yeah, so we could put other pawns in this level.
We could have a block moving on a sine wave and then have a homing missile to shoot that.
I'm trying to think how hard would it be to set up this pawn to work
People like
with
the idea of a missile. I think we should stretch ourselves to a missile more than just a straight... Pretty boring just to send a straight slug out, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure. But the question is, how can we actually make that any fun?
Well, let's start by making a block move in such a way that it's actually a sod to hit. So a small block moving on a sinusoid or something like that. Is that
I am cautiously aware that we've only really got 15 minutes left of this stream due to all the technical issues.
Yes, that's true. That is true.
So it's unrealistic that we're going to get
Oh, yeah, it doesn't
anywhere
have to be
with
done in this stream. It is.
So what could we...
So I'd like to end up with...
a sinusoid block for sure.
Yeah, sinusoidally moving block. And it'd be nice to just end up with a nice tidy blueprint at the end of this. And then we can set ourselves the goal of like how we're going to, what type of projectile are we going to use? Whether it's a missile or a laser. I think that a missile is more fun.
Hey, Teravice, welcome, even if you're late to the party.
Yeah, I was just going to say that.
The party don't start till you walk in.
No, exactly. Just going to check to see if my iPad chat matches the... Oh, I can't. It's not streaming in now. Okay. I don't think I'm missing anything in the chat. Sam, are you getting four chats from Perceptual, 2 from Brian, and then Teravice and Brian again?
Yep.
Yeah, okay. I'm not missing anything at the moment in my tiny sample.
I don't think so.
Mikey said he had missed a few. It's amazing how much trial and error you need to do to actually end up getting good at anything. So moral is, guys,
So
allow
are we
yourself
going to build
do
a
the-
block first, or are we going to try and get some AI on our little dude so that we're fighting other dudes? Is that
The
even
most
realistic?
fun thing would be to have somebody chasing kamikaze, like a kamikaze other second ship that just follows you,
Yeah.
and you've got to kind of spin round and shoot somehow.
Yep.
And then we can make that difficult with a static gun. Right, it's never really that difficult with an instantaneous laser. That's the good thing about lasers, but it would still be more fun and
if it's
satisfying.
following you, though, won't it? Because we can't spin round very quickly. We'd have to change the spin speed.
Yeah, we can tune it to be awkward, which is kind of one of the aspects of a game, right? Is that games are about aiming, timing, gathering territory, and there's only one other fundamental category. It's in one of my books over there. Can you guys remember what the fourth fundamental category? You're either aiming, timing, gathering territory, or basically leveling up, but I can't remember the exact term. So often, if you're trying to make a game that's fun because of you have to learn how to aim and time, you kind of have to make it awkward to then make it fun.
This is awkward as anything, and it's not even really doing anything, this AI.
What is it? What is this guy doing?
He's just flying on a straight line. There you go. I exterminated him. But he's pretty hard just to catch because
he's quite small.
Because he's very small compared with the environment.
Yeah. So a missile would be fun here.
Yeah, definitely a missile. Like if you just had random ships and you were like a pirate or something, there you go, hit him.
I think it would be good to do to have the concept of like a Pipper goes over him, and then you have to have him sufficiently central in your view for long enough that you get a missile lock, and then you get the missile lock.
Yeah, that could work. So, by the way, guys, what I did there, this is how easy it can be in Unreal, is if you just drop any pawn into the world, they are going to automatically be controlled by AI, which in this case, the AI is not actually doing anything, but the ship's basically on autopilot naturally and just keeps going in the same direction. So that's what's going on. That's why it was so easy to do. And here I'm just changing their initial directions so that they're not all heading the same way. And then hopefully...
Yeah, and if your job is to kill all the enemy ships before they leave the area or something, before they get out of this play space, then that's going to be quite hard with your 5-centimeter laser.
There you go. Yeah, so you're going to want the missile locks or get a missile lock on them for long enough.
Yeah, so this is shaping up to be sufficiently awkward to be a bit of a laugh. Awesome. Now, even if you get him now, you're going to lose your other guy, but with a missile...
Yeah, with a missile lock, you might be better off, indeed. So let's see. Whoa, this is
so that'll be a topic for a future stream. How about we find out if debug lines actually make it into the build? I think they won't.
I'm fairly sure they won't, and I don't want to build because it will take forever.
It's going to take too long, is it?
Yeah.
So how about we switch that out to something that uses a similar API, but that uses something that will end up in the build?
I would recommend projectile as the best thing to do. In terms of simplicity, I think using anything else is going to be difficult.
Well, for a missile, we're going to need it to be a projectile, right? It's going to need to be an instantiated game object that takes it.
So that's very easy to do. Let's do that. We're going to go to... I'm going to do it at the top level. I'm not worrying too much about the hierarchy here. I can figure that out in a bit. So we're going to go ahead and create an actor. Call it the laser. And we can set up this actor. It's completely empty actor at the moment. So let's go ahead and add in a mesh, like a static mesh of some sort for our laser. And now I think if I go to the details pane, static mesh, and choose in the view options to show the engine content, which I've already got shown, then I can have a look at the search for laser and look for things in the editor that has this already. Got a cursor pointer. What does that look like? No, that's going to look rubbish. Have we got anything else? We've got the laser pointer mesh. I think that one's fairly interesting. It's a bit small, maybe, or am I too close? I think it's a bit small. So we might need to scale it in the X direction if I remember correctly. So this is about, there you go, with 100 in that dimension. I think it's just 1 centimeter. So it's not very big. I
think I'm about to be watered. Oh, hello. Oh, yeah, please, 2, if you could. It's About 7,000 degrees. Thank you, honey.
7,000 degrees.
If anything, that's an understatement.
Yeah, definitely.
I didn't say which degrees. These could be Ben degrees.
Yes. Kelvin. Still quite high for Kelvin.
7,000 Kelvin's about 7,000 Celsius.
Yeah, it's still a bit high.
Give or take 273.
Yeah. Right, so we've got a mesh component on here. Now we want a projectile movement component. And we can set that projectile movement component up with an initial speed of, what's a decent speed for a projectile, Ben, do you reckon, in centimeters per second?
Well, I mean, let's have it doing 100 miles an hour to start with, which is about 40 meters a second. So you can work that out in centimeters a second. 4,000.
Yep. So, hello, Grumpy Gamer, old Grumpy Gamer. Good evening, or good morning, or good afternoon.
Are you really an old grumpy gamer, or are you just
a young grumpy gamer who wants to be an old grumpy gamer but couldn't quite work it out?
Or are you old and cheerful, really? I bet that's your real story.
Yeah, I bet he is.
I bet he's trying to be grumpy, but the problem is if you try and be grumpy too much, you just end up laughing at yourself about it.
So I'm going to remove the destroy actor and just trigger our projectile to spawn at this point. So let's do a spawn. How do I do this? Spawn actor from class. I can choose the projectile that we've created, which is a laser, like so. And I need to give it a spawn transform, which is basically whatever our get world location was. So let's do that. In fact, it's our current transform, basically. So get transform. Get actor transform, that's the one. Let's plop that in, have a little play and see what's happening. There you go. There's our projectile. It's got some drop at the moment. That's obviously not ideal.
How's the speed estimate? Thank you, honey.
It looks pretty good,
Sam,
actually.
You're not honey. Yeah, so what is... The question is, does a laser beam drop in gravity?
Does a laser beam drop? Anybody? I guess it does. If a black hole can work, surely it does. Okay, so what we're going to do, actually, we don't need any of the line tracing. If we've got a laser beam, then we want, when the laser beam hits the object, for that to destroy it instead. So I'm going to remove all of our line tracing now, because all we want to do when we fire a laser is spawn that laser beam, and then it can tackle the rest.
I was just about to talk to you about the spaghetti, but you got rid of it.
Absolutely. There you go.
How do we say spaghetti with a proper Italian accent, Sam?
Spaghetti.
Oh, look at that. That sounded like genuine.
Yes. And the instigator of this spawn has to be us. So we have to just put self, or get reference to self in there as the instigator, just in case somebody wants to know why the laser hit them later on. I mean, it's not important because at the moment it doesn't matter. What we want to do here is we want to get a collision of this static mesh. So we can go over to our event graph and go to the bottom of our details pane with the static mesh selected. And we can do, there's a bunch of events here we can implement. And I think we want a begin on component hit. So that gives us this event here. And from on component hit, we can get the other actor and we can just destroy the actor that we hit. So hopefully that should basically have the same functionality as we had before, but now with laser drop. Oh, looks like it hit us first. That's no good. No good at all. So we do want to check. We should be able to get, so this is where the instigator is useful. We can get the instigator of our laser, which was the flying pawn that created it. And we can check if the actor hit is the same thing. So if maybe equals, there you go, equal these two, then put an if in here. So I think it's called a branch in Blueprint. And there's a situation where it's not very helpful if you type if. It does come up with branch, there you go. You type if, it comes up with branch, which makes sense. So if that condition is false, then we destroy. So let's try that. There we go. Now it didn't kill us. That's nice. But it should hit Doesn't seem to be hitting these objects. This is where we need to understand collision a little bit better to see whether a collision was even happening. So let's have a look at our static mesh details pane. Let's go in the last 5 minutes of the stream, see if we can get this working. So collision.
Got a little bit less than 5, about 2 or 3. So
yep, let's see what we can do. So this is a block all dynamic, so that should work, except that I don't think the other objects are dynamic. So let's see what's its responses. I've just expanded out this preset. Simulation generates hit events. That's probably what's going wrong there. So let's save that and try this out. Nope, still not generating a hit event, it seems, when we hit the box. So block all dynamic. If anybody sees what's going on, they might want to shout in the chat, but you probably don't have a clue, just like I don't. So let's have a look. Maybe it's on the collision settings of these boxes.
a lot of moving parts with Unreal with collision filtering.
Definitely, definitely. Collision presets default. So if we hit select custom, we can have a look at what default actually entails. So it's object type world static. Collision enabled. Go over to the laser to block all dynamic, which actually means that it's world dynamic, but its response to a world static is to block it. So it seems strange, seems like it should hit it. The question also is whether our static mesh has actually got a collision volume. So we can go and have a look at a particular static mesh object, just see whether it's set up with collision or not. Let's show collision, show a simple collision. Yep, it does have collision of its own. So that shouldn't be a problem. There are a lot of moving parts to the collision system.
I'm just going to clip this, Sam, because this is useful. The process of debugging collisions, or at least the thought process behind debugging collisions in Unreal.
Yeah, it can be very handy. So I'm wondering how I can isolate this further. It did seem to work when we didn't exclude our actor.
So I think what we need to do is we need to start wrapping up and maybe make a note in the commit that the next step is to discover what the collision issues are, and then start looking at probably affordance, UI affordance of some type of missile locking system.
Yep.
And that's cool. Sorry about the technical issues at the start. We do have them occasionally. I think it was because I was uploading the repo, so that's just shortened the whole thing.
Yeah.
But reasonable progress there in the very short amount of time.
Yep.
Not bad. Shows how quickly you can get things done. So Sam, you'll commit that and then share back in the chat?
I will. Well, the link is in the repo. Let me...
in the chat. Yeah, the link, it's a streaming chat, so new people won't be able to see historically the link. So I could put it in the event description, the historical event description as well, or you could.
Yeah, so I've shared the link. I will
commit there shortly.
Offline, probably.
And then I am going to briefly between streams stop and then restart streaming so that we can talk about the Godot differences between. Well, this is the subject of this one is Godot for C# developers. So it's discovering Godot episode 3, Godot for C# developers. So that will be going live very, very shortly indeed. I'm just going to say hello to Jan and then be back on with you. So stay tuned. Stay exactly where you are. We will be offline only for a matter of seconds so that we can change the stream name. So thank you, Sam. Sorry, issues at the beginning, but we made progress. It was good.
Yep, we certainly did. Now let's see.
And I'll see you when I'm back from America. 1 week off
before we can push, but yeah.
Yep, I'll sort that out for you. 1 week off we're having, by the way, because I'm in the States, and then when I get back, we'll
be doing probably a replay of the first, or probably the first at this point, blueprint video that we did last week, was it? So we'll probably do that next week. And then we'll have brand new content the next week after that.
Yeah, exactly. So it'll be a replay. And can you man the chat during that replay, Sam, then?
Absolutely, yeah.
Thank you very much. That's awesome of you. I've added you as a collaborator here with full admin access, so you should be good.
Yeah, so just to be clear, it'll be a live replay. I will be there in the chat. So if you have questions about that, that is a good opportunity to ask them because I'll be more present even than during a live stream.
Absolutely. Then same time, 2 weeks, we'll be back live, moving this project forward, showing the world a little bit about Unreal Blueprint. Cool. Thank you, Sam.
See you soon, guys.
See you soon, buddy.